Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. Glad to be back with you guys. It's been a cloudy, rainy Tuesday here in the Chicagoland area, but that's okay. I have another exciting show for your viewing and listening pleasure this evening. As you guys all know, the entire month of July, I am doing the Hotter Than July series, and each and every night, I've brought some of the most amazing people ever for conversations that are necessary and needed. These conversations are here to help you, your family, your community, our country, and the world as a whole. How can we better do things a little bit better? How can you help me? Do me a huge favor. Go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Real Chat Daddy Show. The more subscriptions I get, the more it will draw advertisers and people to the show and help with this show's improvement in many different ways. I thank a lot of you all who gave me feedback about last night's show. With these shows being done via the internet, sometimes some of the guests, their Wi-Fi may not be as good, or they might be in an area where they are having issues with their Wi-Fi. So sometimes the sound may be distorted on the show. And if this does happen, please just let me know in a instant message or post it on the Facebook page, and we'll do whatever we can to try to resolve the sound issues so that you guys are able to have a quality sounding show each and every night. The content is amazing. We just want to make sure we deliver it to you in the right way. Also, go over to Facebook. Yep, the Real Chat Daddy Show on Facebook. You can see the show there. You can like the page. You can leave comments. Once I see the comments, we do add them to the screen. If you'd like to have your comments posted on the screen during the show, the best way to do that is through the YouTube page. You're able to post there. I'm able to see them, read them, and we're able to put your comments up so that you're a part of the conversation. So tonight's show, we have another amazing guest co-host. She's a young lady who I've had the pleasure of talking to many different times. She's not only smart, she's a Chicagoan, and she loves house music. She is Miss Leslie McKinney, and she is the director of BWise, which is Black Women in Science and Engineering. It's always a pleasure to have her with me on the show, and tonight is her first time serving as co-host of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I was getting ready to say my other show. This is the Real Chat Daddy Show. Welcome the amazing Miss Leslie McKinney. Hello, Leslie. How are you?
Good. How are you? Well, I've been on your other show quite a few times, so it's easy enough to accidentally say the name of the other show.
I know. I'm so used to introducing and saying welcome, to the other show. But now you've actually been a guest here on the digital show a few times, but tonight you're serving as co-host, and we're glad to have you here. You look great. Leslie, do me a favor. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I know you're originally from Chicago. You're a South Sider. You love house music, but you're actually a very bright woman, and we are so fascinated anytime, I meet women who are in my favorite thing to talk about, which is STEM. And you're the director of BWise Chicago. So go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and let them know all about the magic of Leslie. I know the magic. They need to know the magic.
Oh, I guess I need to tell you all about my magic.
Yeah.
Leslie McKinney. I am the Chicago director of Black Women in Science and Engineering, also known as BWise. I have loved STEM since I was a kid. Science was my favorite, especially chemistry, but I decided to go into electrical engineering. It was a rough road, but I graduated in electrical engineering and have had the pleasure of working for large corporate 500 companies and worked in different areas like quality assurance, and operations on the manufacturing floor, assembling machines and getting parts out the door, supply chain. So I have been fortunate enough to work in many different roles for a corporate 500 company. With BWise and being the Chicago director, I have a lot of responsibilities, including programming, membership, and building all kind of relationships with a lot of great organizations. So in the time that I've moved back to Chicago, because I didn't live here for about 20 years, and you wouldn't know it because I love coming back home, and this has always been home to me. I have had this phenomenal opportunity, and in doing so, I was able to meet Art, which is great. But to let you know a little more about BWISE too, Black Women in Science and Engineering is an organization for mid to senior level women in management, because we get to a point where we get stuck, and there's lots of data that talks about how we get stuck. And what we're trying to do is help women pivot. Let's get out of our ruts at some of the organizations that we are in, some of them being either academia, or sometimes we work for government and research, or even in corporate environments. Let's get out of our, in those situations where we feel like we're not noticed, we're not seen, and let's now talk about how do we do more personal and professional development, because a lot of these places stop doing that for us. And let's talk about maybe entrepreneurship, because we have lots of entrepreneurs that are members of our organization. So I'm so happy to be here. I would love to talk anything about BWISE. I can talk about BWISE all day long, but I won't, because we got a whole show to do.
That's all right. We love you, Leslie. We love when you talk, because you make great sense. And with this whole coronavirus pandemic, really, medicine is a science. It's the practice of science and biology and the whole body. And so I'm sure as we talk about COVID tonight and other things, it all ties into the same thing, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many areas that people don't think of, and even some I could not even tell you about because I can't think of them myself. But the great thing is Google, right? You got immunology, epidemiology. You have so many different fields that people research, because you hear so much about the research that's coming out. I think the research is coming out too soon, and I think they need to stop saying things. But, companies want to be the first ones to get their product out. They want to be the first ones to talk about the research, because if they're the first, then you think of them and think of them only. What they need not to do is cut down on any steps that are required to get the FDA approval, so that all these wonderful tests and vaccines can get to us. They just need to slow it down a bit. And I think that's where a lot of confusion comes from, because people want to know. And it's like, some of this does not need to be breaking news right now. While you're still trying to figure some things out, keep it to yourself. But it's a race.
Well, today our president, number 45, Donald J. Trump, did a press conference. And again, he called it the China virus. He did say that, one of the reporters said to him, hey, listen, China is working on a vaccination. Will you accept this vaccination from China? And my whole argument, again, is that you're insulting these people by blaming this virus of being their virus, the China virus. And then secondly, they're working on it. And if they come up with it, again, I don't know if I would trust a vaccination from somebody that you are continuously insulting all the time by, labeling this the China virus. And so that took me back a little bit. And then when he said today, wearing a mask makes you patriotic. Well, I thought I was, patriotic before wearing a mask. And I always wear my mask, but I'm wearing this mask for safety reasons, to keep myself alive and to protect other people. And so I didn't know, if that's the case, we should have been wearing masks a long time ago, if that makes us patriotic. And then I want to know what's the difference between a Ku Klux Klan hood and a mask.
Well, let's see. So I had I guess I could say, misfortune of being part of a COVID cluster back in mid-March. And at the time, people weren't saying that, anything was in the air. It was always touch and all that. I was with about 300 people, and we had hand sanitizer. I mean, we had those things. But to think that, a hug could be the reason that something gets transmitted as much as it did, is kind of difficult to say that that's all from touch, because I didn't touch, all 300 people that were there. And more science. I mean, but I've seen it in other articles, but they're saying it more that this is in the air. Now, how long it stays in the air, they don't know, but it's in the air. And it makes sense because of how contagious it is. Mm-hmm. It has to be in the air. I'm trying to be short of saying airborne because there's probably some other implications with something being airborne. But I know as quickly as it spread and as quickly as I saw a lot of my friends being sick and being hospitalized, and unfortunately there were some deaths, I've realized it was in the air. And I saw someone coming back home in an ambulance because at the time it was so early. Right. They did, as soon as they put that person in their home, they wiped down that entire inside of that ambulance. Now, if it was just touch, you wouldn't have to do that, right? So it's like, so there was suspicions early on that that's what this was, but they didn't want to say it. So a mask is very important. And a hood from a KKK would not be effective enough in terms of, I mean, I guess it could have some effectivity, but I don't want to see it. I'd rather see people at least wear, the mask that you can buy at a Walgreens or something like that. But you also have to be careful about the mask you buy, because some of them, of course, are counterfeit, coming from a lot of different countries, especially China. And so everybody should be wearing a mask because honestly, this stuff is in the air and everybody's been exposed to this virus by now. People probably don't want to hear it. I understand I'm not doing the scientific research myself, but if you've been in the grocery store buying groceries, you've been exposed to it. I saw a post today of someone saying that they thought that their civil liberties were being compromised by wearing a mask because they were talking about Muslim countries and all these other things when it comes to women and being subservient and your liberties being taken away. So I'm getting more and more surprised, I guess, by the reasoning that people are coming up with to not wear a mask versus, look, this is in the air. Whatever propaganda you're listening to from there, you can listen to this propaganda and hopefully you can get swayed that says you need to wear a mask. You absolutely have to.
Okay. All right. You're right about that. All right. Also coming up on tonight's show, my former co-host and the queen of all things security education, Javondlynn Dunagan, will stop by. As you guys all know, she's the owner of JMD Defense LLC, and she will join us to talk about the uprush of crime that has been going on here in Chicago and across the country. Here in Chicago, we've been hearing nothing but stories of carjackings, shootings on the expressways, a lot of break-ins, things like that. And we know that there's an uptick in crime during the summer, but this is beyond just acceptable here in the city of Chicago. And of course, the president has said that he will be sending in federal agents. The mayor has put her foot down about what these federal agents will or will not do. So we'll debate the issue of whether or not we do need help at this particular time, but the crime is just out of control here in Chicago and other major cities across the country. And then later on in the show, we need some energy healing, and who better to help us than renowned energy healer and best-selling author Marla Goldberg. Marla has recently released a journal, a self-care tool entitled My Sacred Journal, and it helps you to find your hopes, your dreams, your desires. Marla also talked to us about all of this anxiety and fear that we're going through right now. I tell people this is probably the calmest I've been in a while, but I really do still have a lot of anxieties and fears about a lot of different things. Leslie, you brought up something that I had to think about when I was doing my radio show. Each and every one of my guests who would come to the studio, people would hug me. People hug me in public, men, women, everybody wants to hug me. And then I used to take pictures with everybody. And so now it just makes me wonder, Will I still be doing these type of things? You know, if I ever went back in a public studio setting, if I ever, you know, did another talk show, I have to look at the fact that even talk shows that have audiences, you know, how will that work for them? You know, my good friends, Ryan Cheverini and Val Warner and the team over at Radio City Live, their show is based off of an audience. And so, you know, you just wonder how all of this will pan out, you know, as this goes on. And then today the president said this will get worse before it gets better. And we already knew that. Look, Black folks, we knew that already.
It took them so long.
Right. Like, hello, we knew that. So what do you think, Leslie?
Yeah, I understand completely. Things are going to change. I mean, it will get worse before it gets better. I don't know how it's going to be in studios. And you're right. I mean, the hugging and everything else. So I have to admit, I have been hugging people. I've turned my head to hug them, or I've turned my head to give them to give them an elbow. But I turn in the opposite direction with my mask on, and they have a mask on too, which is at least helpful. But things will change for sure. The pictures you take, everything else will change. It has to.
Right. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, let me give you guys the latest Illinois COVID-19 update. As of today, it has been announced that there are 955 new known cases of coronavirus. We've had an additional 23 fatalities, which brings our total number of known cases here in the state of Illinois to 163,703 cases, with a statewide death total now of 7,324 since the start of the pandemic. The state has also announced the results of 29,745 new test results. So that's not bad. I hate to see the fatality numbers have gone back up. They had dropped Monday quite a bit. And, you know, the new known cases, I was shocked today when I found out that 1/3 of the new known cases in the city of Chicago is now the younger people, the ones that I was talking about 2 weeks ago when I had an alfresco dining experience down on Randolph. And I was like, baby, they act like what nothing going on. They butt naked, enjoying themselves, kissing, sharing cigarettes, doing all that. And, you know, I was just like, wow, to be young again. But no, I'm sitting there, you know, with a turban on, a mask. I'm looking like a swami sitting there at dinner, almost ate with plastic gloves on, you know, but I don't know. I guess that's to be young and carefree. I've seen several birthday parties online. I've seen people out at the club getting a juke on. And so I guess, you know, the younger, you know, Leslie, you're younger. So, you know, you in that, you know, 29 and older demographic. Honey, how y'all thinking? How you thinking, Leslie? What's the deal? You know, I have to compliment ladies. You know, I do. Right.
Then I must have had this gray streak added in just for,
you know, salt and pepper is the new thing now with these young chicks. You know, so what do you think about these young people and disregarding this whole thing?
Well, as you said, to be young again, what did you say? Carefree, but the other part about being young is being foolish. Right. I remember being young, and you think that there's certain things that wouldn't impact you or affect you. And you're not as cautious as you should be. Yeah, so I've been looking at some of these reports too. They even talk about babies and how babies do have a fatality rate as well, even though it hasn't been widely reported. And, you know, they have a lot more immune compromise being as an infant, right? They haven't had an immunity that's built up yet. They haven't had all the germs of this world to try to counteract that. Young people really need to stay at home. And it's tough because I have nieces that are those Gen Zers. And, you know, they feel like they just need to break out and be free. And they were locked down for so many months. It's difficult for some of them to try to assert themselves and being adults. And a lot of them are not always listening to news. So what they may think that, you know, you as the adult are imposing something on them. Unfortunately, some people will learn the hard way. And I'd rather not the hard way be that they brought it home to someone and then that person, unfortunately, being immune compromised or whatever, then, gets the virus and unfortunately passes away. There are different stages of this virus. Everybody doesn't get impacted the same way. But as you already talked about the mortality rate here in Illinois. And thank goodness that our state seems to report accurate numbers. And what I mean is I found out from state to state that the reporting is different. So here we eventually started putting in private institutions like nursing homes and other private institutions that some states don't report. Pritzker said the reason that he reported those numbers is because these people who work there or visit are a part of the overall population. So they're not isolated. So our numbers are a little more accurate. And I trust our numbers better than I would trust some other states, just saying. So I'd rather they not. They don't understand. And what about the guy that got hospitalized and he was on his deathbed and said he didn't know, he was out of Methodist hospital. I forgot what state he was in. He went to a known COVID party.
Yeah.
No idea that was going to happen to him. And when he was done, he said, "I'm sorry. I didn't believe it."
Yes. Yeah. Well, there are a lot of people in that situation of putting themselves in harm's way. I do realize that the Chicago bar and club industry is really taking a hit right now. I really feel bad for my friends who are in that industry and in that business. I mean, I was a party promoter many years ago and could pack a room and, bring the right crowd in and things like that. But right now, I'm not necessarily trying to go to anybody's bar. And when you think of the average neighborhood bar, it's usually, you saying, "Excuse me," bumping in against people. You ladies like to rub your booty on the dudes when you walk past, or I don't know, maybe all of us like that. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, you know how it is with a club situation. Oh, excuse me.
It's so very close quarters.
Right. One of Chicago's oldest and most popular neighborhood bars, they've announced that they are not going to stay around anymore. And I thought that was really Gertie's Tavern. Gertrude's Tavern said that they will be closing after 34 years. They're located at Addison and Lakewood. And they said they just cannot take it because the mayor has said as of Friday, bars will be restricted again from what they can do. If they're not a dining establishment that sells alcohol, they cannot, continue to do what they need to do. So imagine you just have come back. You have limited capacity. You have limited hours, and now that's going to change as of Friday. So that's going to be a problem as well, too. Friday, July 24th at midnight. So really, Thursday night is the last time you guys can have your hurrah. You're not even going to be able to do Friday night because that is technically another day. So, we'll see how that all works. So,
and supposedly those measures are supposed to target that demographic that you were talking about, the 18 to 29-year-olds.
Right.
It's supposed to be a way to curtail them getting juiced up and losing more of their inhibitions and being in such close contact with other people.
Yes. Now, what I find interesting. Yesterday, we were talking on the show about they want property managers and condo owners, people that, major buildings to limit the number of guests people can have. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't even know how many people live in somebody's unit, let alone you trying to limit the number of guests people are having. Can you imagine you're a doorman or a concierge and you got to tell, a great tenant, "Oh, Miss So-and-so, you've had more than 3, 4, or 5 people in your unit today." And so I don't know how they're going to impose all of this. My thing is that I feel like we came off a lockdown too soon anyway. I understand our economy is in a hellhole right now. I understand that so many people are out of work. I understand that we're all going stir crazy. It is beautiful weather and it's summertime. But the issue that we're faced with is that, again, this situation has not curtailed itself. And a lot of people have been just very lackadaisical about how they've been dealing with this.
No, you're absolutely right. I know I was one of the people because I self-quarantined for 9 weeks after I got back from that trip. And I mean, when I say I self-quarantined, I was self-isolated. I had, people bring me groceries, but I stayed right here. And right. I have to admit, I was one of the people I was like, oh, I actually got out. Like, it was warm. It was May, sitting in somebody's backyard, quarantining. Distancing ourselves in the backyard. And I'm like, this is nice. I'm like, I miss this. And I'm probably out more than I should be, I will admit. But I tell you one thing, I never am without my mask. And if I can help it, I always have something over my eyes too, if I can help it. Right. I try to do, exactly. I try to do pick up, like for shopping, grocery shopping. If I can go pick up groceries and somebody else shopped it for me, or if you can do an Instacart, I would do it. Yeah. I mean, I can understand wanting to be out. I really can, but please limit it as much as possible because you don't know where you're going to fall in I'm really not going to show any symptoms to something way more fatal.
Yes. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely right about that. Well, we were going to talk about Kanye West, but we will not have enough time to cover Mr. West tonight. So my co-host tomorrow night, I'll let my co-host know that we're going to have to go into an in-depth conversation about Mr. Kanye West. He has been added to the Illinois ballot for the November. He has. It was announced today. I can say this really. Yeah, let me say this. On July 4th, we all found out that Kanye West wants to run for the president of the United States. He had made a comment that it was going to be the birthday party that he was running under, but we all kind of laughed and took it as a joke. Well, the South Carolina Board of Elections confirmed to ABC News that Kanye West did file a petition with the state, but he would not be on the ballot there because it was.
He didn't have enough signatures.
He didn't have enough signatures. But it was announced today that yesterday, which was the deadline of the filing date, that he had enough and he will be on the Illinois ballot here in November for the election. And as I said, we don't have enough time right now to even discuss all of that. He had a rant on Twitter that, things were not the best with him. He had a rant this weekend at an appearance in South Carolina. And I don't know. I don't know. And all I know is that where we are in this country right now, we don't need any more division. We don't need any more obstructions. We need to be moving in the right direction and trying to get someone in office that, and again, I'm not saying who to vote for. I'm not any of that, but who can take this country in the right direction. We're still in the midst of a pandemic, epic job loss, destruction from this virus. And so I don't know. Maybe I need to talk to more people who are Kanyeers versus what I've seen from Kanye. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a distraction. And unfortunately, those who need to vote, especially younger, may try to, because I guess he's on the ballot. You can't even write him in. I'm like, if you can write him in, people will forget to do it. But if he's on the ballot, some people will do it because they think it's funny. I mean, I think that's partially how we got the person we may have in office right now, just saying. Some of it, that's not all of it. I mean, there are people who are, staunch Republicans and we're going to vote regardless, but it's a distraction. I mean, it's a total distraction. For those who don't like the current administration, you have to vote against the person in office. You can't say no to that person. You have to vote for someone else. And generally the someone else who can get elected in is the person in a major party.
Right.
Major party. It cannot be a party that hasn't been heard of, because then votes will go there and that person will never win because they don't have enough people backing them up who are already in politics, right? You don't have enough senators to back you up already. You don't have any of those things. That's why a lot of independents, the libertarians and all them don't win, right? Because there's not enough of them in Congress or in other offices already. So it's too bad.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Well, on tomorrow night's show, we'll have a more in-depth conversation about Kanye West. We'll talk about where he's from, which is here in Chicago, and give a little of the background story of him and some of the things. As you guys all know, he was hospitalized in 2016, where after his hospitalization, he said that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He had an interview with Charlamagne tha God in 2018, and he revealed that. So, tomorrow night we'll get more into this. He is a part of the Kardashian clan, and as we all know, Mama Kris Jenner is no joke. Anytime her husband decided to let his pee-pee thing go to become a female, you should know that what kind of house that situation is in, and that he's married to an influencer, and so. And then, as Booker T just said, we're really trying to figure out what is the true motive of Kanye West running for president. And maybe tomorrow night, some of these younger people can come on and help me. If anybody, wants to put their 2 cents in on the show tomorrow night, we really do want to learn what's the phenomenon of Kanye West wanting to run for president. Because I'm like you, Leslie, we already have had a reality star run the White House. So, honey, I don't know if I can endure another reality star running our country. I mean, and no disrespect to the brother. He's a brother just like myself, but I just don't know. I really don't.
For when it comes to someone African-American running for office or becoming president, we understand that they have to be exceptional. They have to be no scandals, no nothing. I mean, with Kanye, he's an open book, which probably would help him, honestly. But I mean, we know, as you see, person had to be exceptional, no blemishes, nothing to be known of that would say that they couldn't give any reason for that person not to be in office. So I don't think Kanye is going to win. But everything with him is already out there. So he has nothing to lose there.
I don't know. I just always thought that the presidency, you had to reach certain benchmarks. You had to be at certain levels. You had to be, not because you're a fashion designer, not because you've given a few $1 million away to people, not that you're married to, a conglomerate family and all of that. I don't know, but we'll talk about all that tomorrow evening. All right. Well, Leslie, you've done a great job with Hot Topics. I want to thank our amazing guests from last night's show. As you guys all know, during the entire month of July, I'm doing this Hotter Than July series. And last night, my 2 co-hosts and my guests, they've been doing a great job each Monday during the month of July. Leslie, you were watching the show last night. Alicia L. Ross, she is doing her dissertation now for her doctorate degree. So I call her Dr. Ross. And then we had Dr. Carol Collins Alalaja. Aha, I did it. They were here last night, and we were talking about colorism and just how it plays a huge part in who we are. It's played a huge part for years. Leslie, your complexion would always have won out if we, back in the day, you would have made it with somebody like me, girl. I'd have had to work extra hard to prove that I wasn't just a jigaboo. So I mean, and it's unfortunate we have to look at things like that.
But as Q-Tip said, black is black. Just saying.
Right.
So if you think that those things only get you so far, there's a lot of other things. There's charisma. There's so many other characteristics that get people ahead. It's attitude as well. I mean, so those type of things, I've seen people get far that don't look like me, and that's a wonderful thing. I've seen people that gotten far that look like me, but that whole colorism, because like I was on the show that co-hosted the night that they were in studio talking about.
Yeah.
And a very interesting conversation, even last night, of course, was very interesting. And the colorism in general, when it comes to being, they talked about amongst the Black community, which I try not to talk about outside the Black community because that needs to be worked on. But then, of course, the colorism when you're talking about all ethnicities. So there's so many dimensions to that. And I heard the jigaboo conversation and school days and I've been called all kinds of stuff, especially stuck up. So when they talked about that, I was like, that's interesting because I'm pretty quiet and introverted, although people don't see that, pretty shy. So I would stay off in the cut. Yeah. And people just thought, I was like, no, I just don't gravitate to people that easily. So
yes, I get it. Well,
misconceptions.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here with us tonight. Our next guest is no stranger. She actually helped me to get this show off the ground. She has now ventured off into doing her own wonderful shows, teaching people about security and safety. She is the creator and founder of JMD Defense LLC. As I tell everybody, she's the ultimate bodyguard. I just love and adore her. Glad to have her back tonight. As you guys all know, we've had a surge in crime recently here in Chicago and in other cities across the country. And to talk about what is going on with all of this crime and how we can better protect ourselves is the one and only Miss Javondlynn Dunagan. Hey, my friend. Are you there? Do we lose her? Is she there? Hey.
Her name is there.
I know her name is there. Let's see if she's there. Hey, can you hear us? Uh-oh. She's froze.
She's frozen.
No, let me send her a text and tell. Oh, there she is. We got there. Hey, Javondlynn. Uh-oh. Can she?
It's a great smile.
I know the smile is beautiful. You look like $1 million. Her hair, everything. Look like a superstar. All of us got good hair tonight. Okay, let me see. Let me check and see if she's okay. Let me tell her she's frozen. All right, keep talking. You the filler co-host.
Okay, so
Javondlynn, you there? All right,
yeah, she's still freezing. When you talk about the crime in the city, I know there's crime all over the city. I know specifically, I've seen a lot of information about carjacking in our area. So I'm interested to see what Javondlynn has to say about that and what she knows about it. Because a lot of it's happening in Calumet Heights.
Okay.
Some of it seems to be in Greater Grand Crossing and a little bit in Chatham. But lately, Calumet Heights, like along the Skyway,
yes,
is really getting, that's where Trinity Hospital's nearby there. So there's a lot of carjacking going on over there.
And what's so frightening, it's 10-year-olds that I'm understanding is a part of all of this. Javondlynn, can you hear us? Are you still having technical difficulties? Okay, she's still having technical difficulties. We'll remove her out of there. It's crazy. First of all, we had a shooting in broad daylight on the Dan Ryan Expressway a couple of weeks ago. The young men are out just walking down the expressway, shooting. That's out of control. As you said, all of these carjackings that we've been experiencing lately. I'm still not over the fact that all the rioting and looting that took place in the community. And then, we're just hearing more and more stories that are horrific. And let's not talk about the number of children that have been murdered recently is just unbelievable and of epic proportion. And so we've got to figure out, what can we do? How do we take our streets back? I remember when Father Michael Flager and a lot of people closed down the Dan Ryan Expressway to protest, and I thought that was one of the most epic things ever. But what happens after these things are over and done? You get what I'm saying? Yes,
Absolutely.
There was a protest, whatever the case may be, but we still don't know how to stop all of this. Let me see. I think our guest might be ready again. Let me bring her back in and see. Javondlynn, are you
ready?
Hey,
I'm here.
Hey,
I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you all?
Wonderful,
hey,
Javondlynn. Look,
hey,
you look good. You in love or something? Look, you look great.
I'm in anticipation. I'm in anticipation. That's what it's called. I'm waiting, right. and when the right one shows up, I will know when he's here.
Well, honey, you look like $1 million. I miss you so much. Glad to have you back. Yes, Leslie and I are so excited that you're here with us this evening. I did an intro for you, but kind of tell everybody who you are. And then, Javondlynn, this crime thing is horrific here in Chicago, baby. It's out of control. And you and I talk about this all the time. So go right ahead. We'll give you the platform, and then we'll get into the conversation of what we can do.
Okay. I'm Javondlynn Dunagan. I own J&D Defense LLC. I've been in business for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. I'm excited to announce that just this past Thursday, my Ladies of Steel Gun Club surpassed 300 women, which speaks volumes. Now we're at 307, so it's ticking up there after that announcement was made. So I teach concealed carry classes, firearm education overall. We have self-defense classes just for ladies, but concealed carry, intro to firearms are for the men as well. And so I do safety education seminars, and that's pretty much what I do. And I consider myself a safety educator / expert.
Yes, well, that's what you are, and we appreciate you for that. The president of the United States said that he's sending federal officers into these cities. We know about Portland. He announced Chicago will be getting federal officers. Our Mayor Lori Lightfoot, put her foot down and said, well, if y'all coming, honey, you can only do the following things in my house, just like any auntie would do, just like any mama would do. But Javondlynn, what do you think about the federal agents coming in? And what do you think is the main reason we're having this uptick in crime right now?
Well, it's funny. My phone has been ringing today with people asking me my opinion about it. And my perspective is, several months ago and for a few years, I've said we need the National Guard to come in. I think we need the feds to come and help Chicago police. My concern right now, and I do still think we need them, my concern is who's sending them. The fact that Trump is sending them here, his motives, I don't think, are correct. And so my fear is that they're going to get this charge in some respects to say, okay, we're going to Chicago, we're going to kick butt, and we're not playing, we're going to clean up this crime. I think it's bigger on some levels than sending in the feds to clean up. I think the feds will be a great help with tactics, with intelligence information. However, if there's no oversight, I know that every federal agency has a agency lead, a chief or whatever. I'm just concerned that it's going to be a wild, wild west. Now, we do need them here because my biggest thought or my biggest concern is that you can arrest people all day, but if there are no consequences, you're letting them back out on the street because we're afraid to really come down tough on the kids and the people in our community. The feds can come here forever, but if they go to court or the state's attorney or someone lets them out, or we have the politicians and the preachers standing there complaining that they're locking up our kids, and I'm not saying that's just the answer. I'm saying we've got to figure out why there are no consequences, that the carjackers as young as 10 carjack somebody, they go to court, they catch them, and then they're right back out on the street. That's the problem. I do think that the feds coming on these corners and walking around, or whatever their tactic is going to be a wake-up call. Because I don't think the gangs understand. Once those feds snatch them up, they're looking at a lot more time than the state. They're not going to just have a revolving door on a federal level. So once they come in and let them, you saw what happened when those protesters and antagonists were pelting the police with all those bottles and explosives. The penalties are enhanced if you attack or harm a federal officer. So they're going to get people on just some basic stuff. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be a very contentious situation. But let me tell you what I already believe. And me and one of my girlfriends that works for the feds thought the same thing. They already know who they're looking for. I remember Superintendent Johnson said, we know the gang members. We know the gun offenders. They got a list of them. They know where they live. But if they go to court and they keep letting them out, what can they do? So you know the feds have already looked at the intelligence. They know who they're looking at. They've been watching them. They know who's moving the guns. All they're gonna do is come in and swoop in and get them. They're gonna do what I hope they will do. But we gotta stop coddling people in our community. As I've always said, the people that we know are committing these crimes are in grandma's basement, mama's basement. They're harboring them. They know that they're killing them, and until they kill their family member, it's no problem. They're okay with them out there all day killing folks. But when it hits their front door, it's a problem.
But you know, the problem is you're absolutely right about what you said, Javondlynn, is once that the family member get killed, then they want to retaliate. We want to one up everybody.
Exactly.
You done killed my daddy. You done killed my mama, my uncle. So now I'm gonna become a gangster in revenge, and it's just been a perpetuating cycle of just no goodness. I know somebody that told me, no, I was born into gang life. I said, you were born into it. Yeah, my grandfather was a gang member, my daddy. So, I have to live that life. And I'm thinking to myself, no, not really. I came from a lot of stuff too, and I try not to live that life either. So it's a lot of confusion of we know who these people are, but is it because they have money or dominance or control, or I don't know what it is that we won't rat these people out?
And that's exactly what Lori Lightfoot wants, right? That's why she wants the feds to come in to manage those type of people and criminals and that type of activity.
Oh, absolutely. She's a former U.S. attorney, so we know Lori knows the game. She knows how this process works. What she's concerned about, which is what I'm concerned about, is who's sending the feds. So if Lori and the mayor, I don't want to just call her Lori, but if Lori Lightfoot and our governor say we need the feds here, we need help, then there's going to be some oversight. They're going to manage it a little differently. But if the president is sending them, he already knows. He's talked about Chicago. He's talked about these liberal mayors. So his motives may not necessarily be right. And if he's sending them and they get the charge from the president, who is really going to keep these people in check? I believe the feds have a much different level. I don't say level of training. Not to say that they can't be rogue either than local police, but it's another standard on another level. Sometimes that was just my experience working with the feds. And Lori knows what they can do. I'm telling you, let one of them throw a bottle. Let one of them. They're gonna snatch them up. They're gonna be right at the federal prison. It is not easy to get off, and we saw that with Blagojevich, because he thought he was going to do the clown stuff with his attorney Sam Adams, and the federal judges don't play that. They don't play that. So I think it's a good thing to an extent, but I think the gang members don't know what they're in for, because they already got the intelligence. They've infiltrated the gang. They already are in the community. This is how they roll. This is what the feds do. They watch you. They are probably already on the ground. That's it.
From what I understand from a lot of these folks who cracked them ATM machines open, that if they were not fully covered up and all of that a lot of them done had knocks at their door already. There are some that knew what they were doing and disguised themselves and all that kind of stuff. But then you had a lot of other idiots that really didn't disguise themselves, as well as breaking into a lot of these places that they didn't realize cameras are everywhere, and that a lot of people have been had knocks at their doors.
But it's FDIC insured, right? So that means federally insured. And as you're saying, when you're dealing with the federal government, that's on a whole nother level. If you were to steal from, let's say you're over at O'Hare Field and try to steal something from FedEx, guess what? You're in a lot more trouble because they're transporting packages across, state lines.
Right.
So it's a whole new level, like you said.
Oh, absolutely. And one of your guests I see just made a comment. The reality is in our neighborhoods, we're living in fear because you're scared to rat the people out. Then the people that, if you think about the whole drug trade, if you're slinging dope on the corner, you come home, you're paying mom's rent, you're paying bills, everybody's getting paid in that household, people on the block. We've known it in the drug trade, they've supported athletes. They haven't touched them, but they've supported their lifestyles or their families to make sure that child gets out. So everybody has some stake in not talking, but speaking up as well. And at some point, I remember years ago, Father Flaker said, if everybody says not on my block, then they push them to the next block. But we have got to say, not in my house, not in my block. We got to take our blocks back. And it sounds easier said than done, but if I'm not even gonna get into the part about arming ourselves, so let me stop there.
Well, now that's kind of where I want to take this a little bit, because Javondlynn, what can we do as everyday citizens to just protect ourselves a little bit more? Like the lady that was carjacked here on the south side of Chicago, she said, I should have known something was wrong when they was coming down the street the wrong way with the headlights off. What advice would you give us to just help protect ourselves a little bit better? Because, baby, you know how I feel about my security system. And so I just, what would you tell us to do to just make ourselves, to protect ourselves?
Well, I think the best thing that we can do is be aware. I say it all the time, stay ready, be aware of our surroundings. So every time there is a carjacking or shooting or something, I'm reading between the lines when I'm reading the information. And one of the things that she said, not to blame her or anything, but just to dissect what I've read, like you said, she saw them driving down the street, a car coming. She didn't see who was in it probably at the time. A car coming down a one-way street, going the wrong way, and the car didn't have their lights on. So for me, I'm going to look up, because I'm Miss Crime Woman. I'm looking like, why are you breaking the law? Why are you driving down the street the wrong way? Why don't you have your lights on? So I know what the natural inclination is. Let me just get home, get in my garage, and get into my house. That's not great. That's not a good plan, because they're moving a lot faster. They've been watching you, so they already have the jump on you. We're never going to be faster unless we are already in tune and see who's watching us and what they're doing. The other thing that I would just say is, when we're coming out of our driveways, when we're coming out of our going to our garages, don't open that garage until you have your keys in the car, turn that car on, and you're ready to go. So if you open that garage and somebody's standing there with a gun, you just run them over. I'm sorry. I don't know what else. I don't know what else anybody else would do, but you're not going to stand in my garage door with a gun pointing at me, trying to carjack me or something, and I have a chance to get away. I'm protected in my car. So that's one of the things. I think the thing that I've said on your show several times are, you're more likely to get carjacked at the front of the line. When you're at the front of the line at a light, you're more likely to get carjacked because they have an easy getaway. So at nighttime, you're driving and you stop at that light, you better be looking and breaking your neck, turning around, looking paranoid. Because I'm telling you, if you're at that front of that line, they have an easy getaway. They can stop, and they're usually working in pairs. When you see two cars that are in sync or moving around the same, somebody's jumping out of a car to grab the next car. And this is what I just told our concealed carry class today. They don't want you. They just want your car. Right. You want your car, but you better want your life better than you want that car. Let the car go. Right. We don't know what we will do unless we're in the situation. But I'm telling you, we have got to get rid of property. We got to let it go, because that's why you better be paying insurance. If your child is in the car, your family member, that's a different story. You're going to probably fight to the end, trying to make sure they don't drive off with your family member. But if it's just you, let them take that car. But we take everything so personally. And I'm sure I feel the same way. I feel violated, but what scares me the most, these little kids that is carjacking somebody as young as 10 years old. Right. Ain't nobody going to think about that age. They're going to see a gun. And if they fear for their life and they think that they're in potential for great bodily harm, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yes.
And it's probably going to be those kids. Because a lot more people are carrying guns out here today, especially since the looters.
You know, today I had a situation. I went to visit a friend, and the friend was like, "Hey, Art, go ahead and make your way to my garage. I'm going to set my alarm." So I opened my friend's back door, was walking through the side vestibule of my friend's place, going into the back towards the garage. And his neighbor, she was locking her back door, and they kind of share the same vestibule. And I said, "Oh, good afternoon. How you doing?" She thought I was my friend, said his name. This woman never even looked up, never looked up. You understand me? I done went and sat in this man's backyard waiting on him to come out, everything. This lady thinking that I'm him, never looked up. I could have knocked that lady upside her head, went in her house, you know, any of that. And what I look at is that so many of us are unconscious nowadays, not really paying attention. Lady, I'm not your neighbor. I don't even look like your neighbor.
I pay attention.
Thank you, Leslie.
I look around, and I don't wait. And don't wait. I shouldn't probably put that out in the universe because I don't want that coming back to haunt me. But I look around before I get out of the car. I try my best to look around, to make sure that I don't see anybody or see anything, because I'd be quick, like you're saying, to put that key right back in the ignition and drive. And I have done that. If I see something crazy, I will drive a couple of blocks and then eventually make my way back around. But no,
that's a good plan. If you see something, when I come home, I look on the side of my house before I back into my garage, and that is a habit of mine too. I always back into my garage so that I can make sure I go straight out in the morning. The other thing people should do is, if you have a garage and you don't have that sensor on it, so that if somebody tries to come under the garage after you let it down, it should pop back up. That's something people should consider getting. It's not probably too expensive, so that as soon as you are letting that garage go down, nobody can roll their bodies up under there. It will always pop back up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell people all day, every day, look, security is essential in this day and age. It just is. I'd rather go without cable TV. I'd rather go without eating filet mignon or whatever the case may be, because we live in a world now where you need to be secure. Every time I hear there was a car break-in last night, there was whatever. These security systems now are affordable. They're reliable. And if you have Wi-Fi, you'll be able to, monitor things a little bit better. There's nowhere in the world you should be a victim of in your own surroundings, but you've got to be vigilant about not being attacked, by the public like that. Anything else, Javondlynn, we need to figure out before you run tonight?
Yes, a couple of things I want to mention. You used to rant and rave about the Ring doorbell. So I didn't get the Ring doorbell, but I downloaded the app. I know everything going on like you know everything. So both of us are being nosy too. I just don't have the camera part, but that's okay.
My friend, he did the same thing too. He did the same thing too. And now
oh yeah, the Ring doorbell keeps me posted on everything going on the block, around the corner, 5,000 miles away. So Ring doorbell, just download the app. It's great.
What about Nextdoor?
Nextdoor, I have the Nextdoor app too. But I think people, like I thought, that I had to pay for the Ring doorbell system to get the information, and I figured out that I didn't. So that's a good app. The other thing that I want to mention is, I won't say who it is because I don't want people to know the person's security system. But this individual, I recommended that they had moved into an apartment, and their apartment building said that you cannot install a security system like Ring doorbell. So she bought some security cameras right off of Amazon, hooked it up to her phone, Wi-Fi, like you said, and she got them mounted in her home. But I also recommended a door jamb. They're great for putting on the back of your door or doors in your home. They're more commonly used on sliding doors, so nobody can slide that the door, but the door jamb is great. So I said, at least if somebody's trying to get in, it's going to alert you enough, because you're going to hear them trying to open that door. So that's just my handy dandy new tip that I'm giving. And then the other thing is if you have an alarm system, I always tell people, get those windows where there it's a notification. If somebody raised their window up, you know somebody's coming in. So when I'm at home, my alarm is on at all times. It's on motion off. So anybody, I hear that doorbell, that's an intruder. Not the doorbell. When I hear that that notification, that's an intruder.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, that's an intruder.
Yeah.
So I just tell people it's simple things that you can do.
Well, here's the deal, and a lot of people don't realize this. Like with the Ring alarm system, that's causing no damage to the rental unit because that system can actually be, it's portable. It can be taken anywhere you go. Even the sensors, all of that stuff. It's just strong double-sided tape. Even if you put the keypad up, it's a regular, just like you hanging a picture or whatever. When you go to move, you just patch it up, put some toothpaste, paint over it, and keep it moving. But the Ring alarm system, you can take that anywhere with you because it even asked you when you set it up, what location are you setting up and all of that. And so, so anybody who is a renter and want an alarm system, it's not wired, so you're able to take that as long as you have Wi-Fi and you're able to monitor on your phone. And again, I don't work for Ring. Javondlynn don't work for Ring, nor does Leslie. But I just know the proven science of it's been a great product so far. And as you said, they can log on and not even have to have the system and know what's going on in the community.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's some small, simple things to do. And the last thing is bushes. Cut those bushes down. I love landscaping, but when I'm walking up to somebody's house, I can't even get to the door without saying, you know what, they need to cut those bushes down. I'm always thinking of that because somebody can hide in the bushes if they're taught. Landscaping is beautiful, but bushes are the main place that somebody can hide, and we just got to be mindful of that.
Javondlynn, I thought you were talking about maybe manscaping but you meant the bushes, the horticultural bushes, right? I said, she took this to manscaping, right.
Landscaping,
right. Somebody can hide in them bushes too. Leslie, anything you want to say to our guest tonight before she leaves us?
Thank you, Javondlynn. I think this is great, fantastic information. I am concerned because I'm living in an area where they're doing a lot of the carjackings. So I am concerned about that. And I think, too, that there's still a lot of desperation out there because there are people who are not working. So the looting has not happened. Hopefully it won't happen again, but there's enough desperate people out here. So there are people who were going to do this regardless. And now there might be other people engaged or involved that had no idea of doing this, but they're starting to do it because it's out of necessity to them. But this is also reminiscent. I don't know if you remember when that 11-year-old boy, what was that? How many years ago was that? He was going around like shooting people. And just to think about that 10-year-old, a part of this whole carjacking ring is just scary.
It is. It's frightening. It is frightening. It really is. Well, Javondlynn, I know your classes are standing room only. I was at an event on Sunday, a small little gathering, and two ladies said to me, the lady that was on your show, So since your class is in such high demand, please tell everybody how they can find you, follow you, and connect with you. And let me say this, you guys, she's a wonderful instructor. I learned so much about firearms and just conceal and carry. And now more than ever, we really do need to protect ourselves. And Javondlynn, I actually probably do even want to have you back on the show just to talk about, what if a conceal and carry person is caught up, in the streets and they've had a bad day. So we'll talk about all that on another show, but tell everybody how they can connect with you.
Okay, thank you, Art. Fortunately and unfortunately, the looters exponentially blew my business up. So as a result, the classes are full through August. September is going fast. So if you're interested in concealed carry, you better jump on my website and snatch up a class. My website is jmddefense.com. You can find me on Facebook, JMD Defense. I'm on Instagram, JMD Defense LLC. So everything is JMD Defense. But if you're interested in the class, go to register now on my website, filter and put in firearm education, look for a class. They're not in date order for some reason. but you'll see the classes for September. August is completely full, and this is how it's been since May 30th. I cannot keep up with adding classes, and I'm finally kind of catching my breath now. But yeah, they're all full to capacity. 14 people are the max in classes, and that's a blessing, and I thank God for that. I do.
Yes, somebody even questioned me about that. I said, look, we had social distancing in her class way before that was in effect. And Javondlynn is going to make sure she takes all safety measures, precautions, everything. And you guys, it's kind of why she's not the co-host every night anymore, because her business really did pick up. And she did this to just help me get on my feet and move forward. And I'm just so proud of my friend. And you know, she is the queen of all things security. She is the educator. She is. Javondlynn,
thank you, Art. I just want to say thank you, Art. You give so many people a platform. You know, you've had me on your show on VON plenty of times, and so I had to return the favor and will continue to be indebted to you. So thank you. And Leslie, it's nice to hear you and see you again.
Nice to see
so
you too.
Whenever you're ready to come take a class, let me know. Okay. And you get that JMD little discount that Art gets too. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy for your business.
Thank you. As they say, stay ready. Stay ready. That's what I say. Stay ready. Okay.
Javondlynn, guess who our next guest is tonight? Our good friend Marla Goldberg, our energy.
I love her.
She's coming up next because listen, since we've been talking about all this crime and we still in a pandemic, we need to have a USA moment. We need to be able to breathe. So that's why we added Marla to tonight's show so that we could be able to have some good juju after this. Because baby, this crime thing is wearing me out, and then a pandemic on top of all of it.
That's right. And last thing, can I just say this one little thing for Marla? I told my class today, when the energy shifts in a room, that's when it's time to go. You can feel it shift in a room. You got to pay attention to that. And Art, I'm going to let you know, I'm going to recommend an attorney that talks to our Ladies Gun Club. She represents concealed carry offenders, or not offenders, but yes, she's dynamic. Her name is Maria Barlow. I'm going to put you in touch with her, and maybe we can do a show because she is dynamic. Okay.
Yeah.
I just met her and she did a presentation. She was on the money.
Marguerite just sent you a beautiful message. What man meant for bad, God made for good. Thank you, Javondlynn. You're absolutely right. You are.
Thank you.
You're looking great, my friend. I appreciate you. Yes, get that attorney booked on this show because that is a conversation that I do want to talk about, because I noticed a couple of people said today, you know, some of these people who do have their conceal and carry, you may have had a bad day, or you may have, you know, preconceived something the wrong way, or whatever the case may be. And the one thing that I learned from your class is how that person falls dictates a lot of different things, you know. So definitely talk to that attorney.
All right, thanks. I'll put you in touch with her very soon. See you all. Take care.
We love you. Have a great night. Thanks so much.
Javondlynn.
Okay, thanks. See you, Leslie. Bye-bye.
Big round of applause for our friend, Miss Javondlynn Dunagan, my former co-host. You know, she's been really busy. Her business has taken off, as you know, it did before, but definitely now with everything that is going on, and we're just so happy for her and glad she had time to hang out with us tonight. Leslie, are you okay? You enjoying the show so far?
I am. I really am. I think what she provided was sound advice. And I would be interested in learning more about when you talk about the conceal and carry, because people want to get guns, but yeah, they need to understand how to use them. And to be in the right frame of mind to know, like we're talking about the de-escalations with the police. I mean, the same thing. You just don't want to have a gun in the wrong hands.
You know, when it was said in class that the one thing you have to be careful of is that if you shoot the person, how they fall. Did you shoot them in the back? Did you shoot them because they were coming towards you? All of that. And that made me leery. I said, it'd be just my luck. Somebody would attack me, trying to get me. I'm able to shoot them, and they all of a sudden fall sideways, or the bullet, or the bullet, you know, the bullet shifted to their back. And I'm like, oh Lord, this is not how this went.
So they do the forensics. They'll be like, wait, you did it on purpose. You weren't protecting yourself.
Yes. So my Art, did you shoot this fool on purpose? No, I did not. You know what I'm I'm saying? I'm telling you, this nutcase was lunging at me. So that's a whole nother story. Well, coming up on the Wednesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show, veteran radio personality, newsman, Mr. Chris Bass will be my co-host tomorrow night. And whenever Chris and I are together, it's nothing but fun and mischievous conversation. We're going to have a great time. Tomorrow night, Chris Bass and I are going to talk about what made us want to become Black male talk show host. He has a wonderful story that he will share on who inspired him to become a talk show host. I'll tell my story of what inspired me to become a talk show host. And believe it or not, Chris Bass and I both had a dream at a very young age that we wanted to be talk show hosts. And that's just not something that Black men ever, I want to be a talk show host. If it is, they're talking about sports or they're talking about cars. He and I want to talk about people and global issues and things like that. And then tomorrow night, we'll talk about, one of his favorite things, entertainment. So he'll be here tomorrow night as our guest co-host. And I'm looking forward to having him on the show, as well as talking about why we chose the career of being talk show host.
I have a feeling Phil Donahue has something to do with that, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I have to tell that whole story tomorrow night about Phil. I'll tell the whole story. Yes. Keep in mind, had a grandmother that was a daytime TV watcher. And so that's a whole story. So now, Leslie, before we go, let's go to Marla, and then we'll talk about your events later. Our next guest this evening is no stranger to the show. She's been here many times before. We just love and adore her. And she actually was here with us when this whole global pandemic shut the country down. We were all in a lot of anxiety and stress about what to do. Marla came on and delivered us a beautiful message. And during that time, she had indicated that she would be creating a self-care book or a journal that would help people to journal their feelings of what they've been going through. Leslie, have you been journaling your feelings of what you've been going through this, or have you been letting the refrigerator be your friend? A lot of times we've let that refrigerator be our friend, Yes,
I'm an emotional eater, but during this time, I haven't been as emotionally eating, because part of it sometimes depending on the stress and what type of stress it is, I can go the opposite way with my emotional eating, where I'm not at the refrigerator all the time.
Right.
So let's learn more about energy.
To help us with our energy healing, and to help us to understand that, we're not alone, that this is happening with everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, renowned energy healer and the best-selling author. Her new book is My Sacred Journal, and this journal helps you to go after your hopes, your dreams, and your desires. Welcome back to the show, our friend, the incredible Miss Marla Goldberg. Marla, how are you tonight?
Hi, how are you? How are you doing? Hi, Leslie. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. I like the purple.
Thank you. I'm a purple girl.
Yeah, Marla's Oh, wait, let's do it like this. That's better. Marla is fabulous. She is. How are you, Marla?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Art?
Doing good. Recently had a series of 8 deaths since February, all of personal friends. None of them died of COVID, just, other things. And, just like a lot of other Americans, the economy and, but other than that, Marla, I'm wonderful. I'm still doing what I do and enjoy it. And I get to talk to beautiful people like yourself.
Oh, I'm so honored. Thank you so much. But I was listening to your segment with the guns and the shooting and the violence that's going up in your area. No, you didn't lose people from that, I hope.
No, I did not.
Okay.
A lot of the crime that's going on here in Chicago and other cities, of course, it's innocent victims, a lot of young children, a lot of innocent bystanders, things like that. No, most of mine were, people that were in car accidents, heart attack, things like that. But no, it had nothing to do with any of the crime here in the city. But this crime is also very stressful for a lot of us, not only here in Chicago, but around the country.
Well, I have to share. I've seen Lori Lightfoot on national TV, so I'm seeing her in North Carolina, and I am so impressed between how she is handling the city, because I'm born and raised in the city of Chicago and lived there until my ripe old age of I'm not going to tell. But I think she's doing a fabulous job, and I'm really impressed with how Pritzker was handling everything as well, from afar.
Yes, very good. Now, Marla, for those that are not familiar with what is an energy healer, tell us what it is that you do and how did you become an energy healer?
So energy is in everything. You know, the table, the chair you're sitting on, the table in front of you, the microphone you're speaking in, it's all made up of energy. The difference is how fast or slow it's moving. So what happens is through whether reincarnation or something that might happen will imprint your soul, imprint your life, and it will cause issues. It could be health, it could be flow of life, manifestation, belief systems. And so, what I do when I work with my clients is to, depending upon what the situation is, remove the blocks and interferences that are holding them back from living the life they deserve to live. And I guess that's putting it in a nutshell on how I work with my clients.
A lot of us, I think, are very much traumatized by our upbringing. A lot of us have been in circumstances and situations that, you know, you survived and you made it through. But did anybody ever just take a moment to really help and nurture? And, you know, a lot of times we're told, get up, keep walking, shake it off. And really, that plays a huge part in our everyday energy, doesn't it, Marla?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. And here's the thing, the dysfunction that we grow up in, because I grew up, if you read my book, I grew up in a highly dysfunctional, my family put a D, the capital D in dysfunction. And so what people aren't trained to how to raise children. They're better now. There's more conversation about it, but they don't talk about processing and how when you've been told you're nothing all your life and you grew up with self-esteem issues or self-acceptance issues because maybe your parents didn't feel you looked the way they wanted you to look. You know, you looked the way you came out, and people can be very harsh and cruel, and parents can be, and or grandparents or relatives can be very harsh and cruel, brothers and sisters, and that stops the flow because it stops how you feel about yourself. When there is love in your heart, when you feel love about who you are, the good and the bad, the duality of life, then you can start moving forward. But when you don't feel good about who you are and you have negative self-talk, you are it's like going into quicksand. And the more you have that negative self-talk, the more you're being pulled down. And so we as humans need to work on releasing anger, frustration, stress, the hurts we've had and have repressed down. We need to learn how to forgive, because forgiveness is not a gift you give to the perpetrator. It's the gift you give yourself of freedom, because it allows you to unlock and release, the bitterness, which is like an anchor. And then going into self-acceptance, and ultimately it brings you into self-love. And when you're in that place, that's when you find that great relationship, the great job, because things are now aligning. Your energy is aligning. All those blocks, those hurdles that you had encountered growing up, or even brought in from a reincarnated life, can really hold you back. And when you work through all these, these issues, and it takes time, it's not a fast fix. It's not like, here, take a penicillin and feel better in the morning. This is a process. But I will promise you, at the end of the process, or, at the certain point when you're coming out of the dark into the light, you feel so amazing.
I couldn't agree more. Leslie, anything you want to talk to Marla about? How's your energy, Leslie? You always are just a ball of energy. You're happy. But, we've had, but I'm getting ready to say, we've had offline conversations where we both have admitted we've had our moments.
Yeah, so for me, I was saying that I grew up shy, so very, very self-conscious. So I'm more of an introvert, and it took effort for me to be more willing to meet people, to go up to people that I may not know and talk to them. It's easier as I've gotten older to do, but still, it's a lot of energy that I expend doing it. So I guess I need to figure out, how do I keep energy going, like great energy, because I don't always have it all the time.
I'll share something with you. Neither do I. I'm a human being, just like you are. And in art, the same for you. And the whole thing is as humans, we deal with things. We deal with stress. We deal with issues that slow us down. And we need to bring our energy up. We need to bring our vibe up. So a couple of things I love to do. I love to sing. I don't do it well. My dog howls, but I do because it raises the vibration. Dancing is a great, or any kind of physical movement really helps bring things up. Comedy. If you're in a funk, put on something that's going to make you laugh. I mean, for me, it's Big Bang because they say things that I just like shake my head and laugh. I belly laugh out loud, and there's nothing better than a great belly laugh.
Mm-hmm.
When you're out with your friends and you're laughing and you come home, don't you just feel like this, like you're buzzing?
Yes.
That if you go out with people and they're really heavy and everything is serious, you don't have that zing, that George, I'm not even going to try to say it, that zing that you feel otherwise.
Yes, yeah. It's a release of endorphins. It allows you to feel good. I'm with Marla because even in a time like this, where we are under so much restriction, or like that, this fresco dining experience with people, just anything to make my energy feel better, because we're living in very depressing times right now.
They're very hard times when you have the COVID and the carelessness of some people. And I always say, be socially considerate. Wear your mask, be socially considerate. You don't want to give somebody something because you don't want to carry that karma. And you don't want someone giving something to you. And though it may not be 100% of a fix, it's a good fix.
Right.
And so wearing a mask, but during that time, then you have the protests, the rallies. I was in Rochester, Minnesota, when the day after George Floyd was murdered. And it was 11 o'clock at night. And down the center of Rochester, there is a protest. What was really interesting is you found very disruptive people, but you also found the people in the back were coming back and fixing what people were pulling down. Like if they were bringing down construction cans or the barrels or the horses or the cones, there would be people following up, just peacefully putting everything back. And I was really watching that in awe. It was, so yes, all these things bring your energy down. And there's a lot of fear and worry. A lot of people are unemployed. But here's where the law of attraction, the law of manifestation steps in. You've got to have faith and belief that, yes, I'm going to keep my vibration up and I'm going to set the intention for whatever it might be. Now, once you set an intention, you can put action behind it to help it along, or you can let it go. But if you have negative thoughts behind it and it brings down, like if you say one thing and then say, oh, it'll never happen. Well, no, it's never going to happen. And it becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. But if you go, okay, I have faith, I have trust, and I say this every day because I pray when I walk my dog, I have faith, I have trust, I know you're there. So I'm going to put it in your hands. Just show me, guide me, protect me. And then I have faith and trust that I will be.
Wow, I love it. I do. So Marla, I want to talk about this new journal. You had announced a journal when you were on with us when we first entered into this pandemic. Look, as they say, you've been a very productive young lady. Look, let's give her a round of applause for
right.
Thank you.
You did. So let's talk about what this journal is all about and the process of you just creating this journal.
So as you know, I'm going to reach behind my solo book, My Effing Long Journey to Loving Myself, A Guide to a Shorter Path. In the back of the book, I offer 14 tips, tools, techniques that I personally use. And journaling is one of them. Journaling is powerful, whether it's to release stressful, angry emotions, or You can use a journal to set intentions, write down your hopes, your dreams, your desires, process situations like, oh, this happened to me. I wonder why this happened, and then you just process through it. And that's what it's for. And what I did is I added quotes on forgiveness, self-love, self-acceptance, things that will keep people inspired and motivated to move on in their journey and to help forgive and allow, release. And so that's how my sacred journal came about and why I put it together. So it goes along with my screen pillow. I was told this looks sexual, but this is another tool.
I love that pillow. I do. I didn't want to say anything, but it does look good. I'm like, that's a nice pillow.
Thank you. So, but this is another technique because to release repressed energy and anger, screaming. We've all had those days. You just want to scream because of what's going on in the world, what's going on in your life. Maybe you've had one of these bad days. You need to get it up and out. Well, you can't miss where you need to scream. That's for sure. And so I designed the screen pillow as well. And I'm just trying to bring tools together to make it easier for people to process and to live the life that they're divinely meant to live.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Leslie, anything else for our guest tonight? Marla, I just love Marla. I feel like she feng shuied me just by having her on tonight. I do.
But sometimes it might sound weird. Sometimes I just want to let out a good cry and I can't. I just feel something sometimes and I can't get it out.
I don't have it right next to me. Otherwise I'd show you, but I always have a kid's bat nearby. And I take my bat and I go to, back in the day when I had my massage table for healing, I would hit the massage table. You go to your mattress, go to a sofa where you don't have any fragile things around, and you take that bat, just a plastic one or a Nerf one, not wood, and you just really wind up and hit that soft material as hard as you can. And I will tell you, Leslie, you do it a couple of times and you will start feeling all this stuff start moving. And the trick is let it come up, let it come out. Don't look at yourself in the mirror, because my biggest mistake is I look and then I look and say, oh my God, I'm so ugly, and I stop crying. Well, so don't look in the mirror, just allow it to come out in the flow. Mm-hmm. Doing like something that will help you.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Last night, she did a great job with that. Last night, we had a conversation on colorism and how it plays a huge part. And I love how in the beginning of this interview, Marla, you said, when people's families don't like them or you didn't come out looking like, what your parents wanted you to look like. For the African-American community, colorism plays a huge part because, there are African-Americans, Marla, that look like Leslie. There are African-Americans that look like yourself. And then there are African-Americans that, look like me. And the thing is that, each one of us would be treated differently where, Marla, if you were African-American and the way you look, you'd be what they consider passing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have any problems, where Leslie would also be someone that could pass. But somebody like me, I'm just going to be a black man. It would never, change. And so now that we're living in a world where there's so much racism and so much, disrespect of each other, I just love how you brought, the beginning of this conversation. Like, look, we're all different. We need to embrace ourselves. And it's just amazing how, we all feel some form of neglect from how we were raised.
And here's the thing. We were all brought into this life for a purpose. So we're here to teach, we're here to learn, and we're here to clean up karma. So we're not here to, to be held back. And so we're our hardest judges. People can be really cruel to us, but we're even crueler to ourselves than anybody else could ever be. So the trick, in my opinion, is learning how to be gentle with yourself. We all do things that are not for our highest and best good. They're not the best decisions. But instead of beating yourself up from it, go, okay, what did I learn? Why did this happen? What do I have to learn from it? And how can I move forward and not repeat the same thing over and over again? Learn from the mistake and grow with it.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Well, I don't know. I feel better now. I don't have to have that glass of wine when I get off the air tonight. I can continue to stick with alkaline water. I can, because just again, eight deaths of friends. Ending one career and then having to learn to pivot in another career. Everybody being in financial ruins, just things are very topsy-turvy right now. And so, yes, ma'am, what do you want to help me with?
I just want to, okay, let's not talk about financial ruin. Let's change the way. Right now, there's a challenge. People are challenged financially, and some more than others. This is the way I like to turn people's way of talking around, because when you say financial ruin, well, you're putting out a negative phrase out there. So let's turn it around so it's gets your point across, but it doesn't bring that to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make?
Oh, it does. In the hood, Marla, how we say that in the hood, I'm just economically challenged right now. That's how we say it in the hood. I'm just economically challenged right now.
And this too shall pass.
I love it. I do. I really do. That's beautiful to be said like that. Marla, in closing, tell everybody your closing thought, and then how can we connect and get your book and continue to keep following your wonderful teachings?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to close as I like to close everything. Please be considerate, socially considerate of others. This is a really difficult time, and the numbers are increasing all over the world, but really highly in the United States. Nobody's taking away your First Amendment rights. It's just the 10 Commandments. It's being considerate of your neighbor. It's being considerate of your family member. Please wear your mask in public. Please go into a store, into a restaurant, wear your mask, wear it out, and just realize that people are not all people are strong and healthy. And you would not want to have the karma of knowing or of giving somebody this horrendous disease, this virus. So people can find me. My website is Marla Goldberg with 2 R's, GOLDBERRG.com. You can see all I do, and you can reach out to me. My phone number's there. My email address is there. And I offer complimentary 20-minute consultations if anybody would like to see where they're at and what they might need to help their traction in life. And I will also end with saying I wish you all great health, great peace, and send blessings, love, and gratitude to you all. Stay well, stay healthy. Be considerate.
We love you, Marla. You're getting a lot of wonderful feedback, and everybody's saying how hot your glasses are tonight. And look, Marla, you encouraged me to put my
mask on. I love it.
Thank you. Well, all of my masks have to coordinate my outfit, but this was the one I was able to grab tonight real quick to encourage everybody in the audience to wear their mask. But if you follow me, what you do on Instagram, all of my masks match my outfits. And so, my mama taught me when I was young to coordinate, son. So that's what I do.
Smart. She had fashion sense.
Yes. Well, Marla, we love you so very much.
Leslie, it was such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. It was great meeting you too, and thank you. I'm taking your advice. I might have to go out and buy one of those little toy bats.
I'm telling you, it makes a whole difference.
Yes. Marla, thank you again. We'll see you down the road. We'll have you back.
See you soon.
Yes, I love you so much. Thank you, Marla, and have a beautiful night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, renowned energy healer and author, best-selling author, by the way, the incredible Marla Goldberg. Good night, my friend. We love you.
Good night.
See you later. All right, that was good. Oh, I love Marla. She did an outstanding job. She really did. Leslie, let's talk about what the ladies of Be Wise has coming up soon.
Okay. Speaking of which, talking about energy, and then you were talking about, unfortunately, some of the deaths that you've experienced this year with some of your friends and family. We're going to be talking about grief. And we'll be talking about grief on August 9th. This is a Sunday. It'll be part of our Black Women in Science and Engineering has had self-care Sundays. At one time, it's weekly. Now it's been about twice a month. So grief. we'll be discussing grief with Reverend Gloria J. Randolph. And she's a retired educator and ordained minister. Now, if you go to the Eventbrite and you see her picture looks so joyful. She has lost 2 sons. Both of her sons were gone at a young age, one at 21 and one at 32. And she is with Giving God the Glory Ministries. And I've met her. And from what I've seen of her, you would never know that she had that much loss in her family. So I'm excited to talk to her. I'm excited to be a part of the conversation. Again, we'll be talking about grief about, maybe loss of family, loss of income, loss of relationships, just loss. And it's not just about, having everyone down in the moment. It's about how do you get through it, right? How do you overcome it? So we're talking about energy just now. So all of it ties together. It's time for us to, 2020's been, I won't say the word that I was thinking. Let's just say it's been a booger.
You sweet, right.
But so, and we all know this. I mean, it's been more devastating than I ever thought that it would be. But there are there's some bright spots here. And this is what we try to do on Self-Care Sundays. Actually, the last one we had, we were discussing energy. It's funny that you had Marla on the show tonight and how your name is tied to that energy. And a lot of times the name that you're either given or you've given yourself has a lot to do with the energy that you put out into the world. Now, how do you rein that in? How do you change it, maybe? So we've been talking about that for a 2-part series. So it all comes together. So Self-Care Sundays, B-Wise, our next one is August 9th. And and it starts at 3:00. If you ever want to know what Black women in science and engineering are doing, follow us on Eventbrite under Black Women in Science and Engineering. We also have a Facebook group. Please join us. Find us under Black Women in Science and Engineering. We have a platform if you ever want to join us. I mean, because again, most of us are trying to find our tribe and trying to find people who support us and trying to debunk the myth that there are no Black women in STEM. We're here. And we're here to stay. What we also want to do is to try to do our best to help with D&I initiatives, because we're here. We want to make sure that companies know we're here and to make sure that we're treated the way that we should be treated and recognized the way we should be recognized. So come join us. We have a premium platform on Mighty Networks, again, under Black Women in Science and Engineering or under B-Wise. You can find us. So we have a Twitter account, BWiseUSA_BWise. We have a website, bwiseusa.org. So you can find us on most social media platforms. We're not on Instagram yet, but we'll get there one day.
Yeah, because I looked for you on Instagram today. I did. I know. Well, you ladies are just so ingenious that you'll probably create your own Instagram. It'll probably be like Science Lady Gram or something. It'll probably be like the Nucleus Gram or something. I don't know. Well, Leslie, you did an outstanding job as co-host this evening. I love talking to you for hours.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, once we come out of this funk, we'll have to do us an alfresco dining experience so
Absolutely.
We can get out and do our safe social distancing and all that great stuff. And I hope your family's well and,
Well, thank you. I can't wait because I can't wait. I can't wait.
I know.
Some good food, good liquor, some good conversation. Yeah. I can't wait.
Look, Leslie, there was no greater feeling the first time I said yes. A martini, please. Oh, yes, please bring another. And oh, yes, how would I like it? Medium well. Oh, yeah, yes, sour cream with that, please. Yo, are you kidding me? Yes. So I get it. So, yes, you and I will have to have that experience very soon. We will. Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, I love and adore you. Thank you so much for sitting in tonight. Oh, I love you, Leslie. I do. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of yet another edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I need you guys to do me a huge favor. Go over to YouTube, please, and subscribe to the Real Chat Daddy Show. The more you guys subscribe and help me, the more the show can grow, the more I can do some other things with this show. I really would appreciate your subscription over there. It's absolutely free. I won't be calling you. Nobody will be sending you magazines in the mail and you have to write me to cancel. None of that. You're just subscribing to the fact that you do approve this show and you'd like to see the show grow. As well as over on Facebook, The Real Chat Daddy Show on Facebook. Easy, simple. You can go right there and do the same as well too. For more information about yours truly, please visit therealchatdaddy.com. Again, that's therealchatdaddy.com. And you'll find out a lot about me. Are you all doing any virtual events this summer? I think that's what Booker T wants to know. The Sunday event is a virtual event, right?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yeah, so we've been doing all virtual events. It's been great too, because we have 6 local chapters. Which Chicago, for some reason, is the most active. I don't know if I have anything to do with it, but it's been great to grow our audience of members. And even we have partners like and sponsors all over the country. So it's been a great opportunity to get all those people involved and engaged. So yes, all of our events have been virtual.
Yes, and then the question was, how about the young people? But we'll figure out for the young people. I think you guys are doing something in the fall season to get young people involved, correct?
We don't have anything planned yet for an in-person event, because I have this feeling that, things are not going to ain't going to get any better. So we're staying with online virtual events.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, on behalf of my co-host tonight, Leslie McKinney, the director of BWise, Black Women in Science and Engineering here in Chicago. They do an outstanding job. Some of the most wonderful ladies. And when they did have events in person, they were really just wonderful events. And I look forward to attending more events with you guys. I even have been on some of your virtual events, and they have been really good, very informative. And you don't have to be a female to be a part of their events. You don't have to be Black. You don't have to be Black. You don't have to be any of that.
You have to be in STEM. Join us. Join our movement.
Yes. Give us the website one more time, please, Leslie.
It's www.bwiseusa.org.
And that's BWise. Spell the BWise for them, even though it's on the screen.
BWISE USA.org.
Yes, very good. All right. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you, Leslie. Great job as always. Thank you guys so very much. I'll be back tomorrow night. Mr. Chris Bass will be my very special guest co-host. He and I will talk about why we always wanted to be Black male talk show hosts. We've always been a dream of mine forever. And we'll have some comedy and laughs and other things tomorrow night. Thank you guys so very much for joining us tonight. Leslie, I love you, darling. It's time to relax. Yay. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a beautiful show, and thanks for joining us tonight. Remember to sanitize. Remember to wear your mask, people. I know it's hard, but come on, y'all, wear your mask. Even if you got to take an old pair of underwear and wrap them around your face, whatever. Just wear your mask, please. Social distance and sanitize. All right, we love you guys. Good night. And here we go. We are out. And